Hello everyone, good morning. I'm one of the foreigners that he had in his map, so I have a little bit of a French accent, and I'll try not to speak too fast. The battle between people and profit, it is a battle that I'm facing every day. I lead the Korn Ferry Institute, Korn Ferry is a human capital consulting firm in many areas of human capital management. And the Korn Ferry Institute is our body that does research and development, and that develops the IP, the products, the solutions that we go to market with. Therefore, I can quickly monetize what we do. I also work at and lead the Korn Ferry Academy, which is our internal academy. How do we develop our people, our talent, so that they can deliver what we have to deliver? I noticed that when I go to my CFO to ask for resources, it's much easier to do it with the Korn Ferry Institute than with the Korn Ferry Academy. I get that you have this type of issue as well. Therefore, when you can monetize something quickly, you get the resources to do it. When it is secondary, even though we do believe in the value of talent, we invest a lot in our people, but it is secondary, it's less visible, less tangible, and therefore it is not a battle that I win every day. So what I'm going to do now is try to talk to you about how I'm putting the power of the Korn Ferry Institute, therefore our research, at the service of the Korn Ferry Academy and organizations like yourself to make sure that we win that battle. We win the battle of profits and win the battle of talent and people at the same time with a strong business case. So I will start with something which is pretty well known, but maybe with a slightly different lens, is the need for learning. In order to build a business case, we need to say, what is the need? Why do we want to have resources and to invest? 85% of jobs that will exist in 2030 do not exist today. You know that there are every day new terms, new titles, chief evangelist officer, head of cloud services, social media manager. I have a daughter, a young daughter, who started working this summer as an internship in a company that does analysis of publicly traded companies to invest or not invest in them based on the degree of carbon dioxide emission that they have. I can guarantee that this job did not exist 10 years ago. Okay? So we are already seeing that evolution happening in a dramatic way. We did a study to try to understand 2030, what is the trends? What are we going to see in terms of balance between talent and the economy? We did that with the support of Oxford Analytica in London, which is a macroeconomic firm. And they came up with a result that there is emerging a talent shortage, which is pretty dramatic. We call it the talent crunch. 85 million people will be missing in the working economy, in the capability that companies like yourself need. Except in India, this will be a real crunch in most countries in the world. The impact is that there will be over $8 trillion of lost opportunities. Companies like yours or like mine will not be able to do what we want to do and get into new ventures just because we will not have the talent that we need with the capability that we need. So there is a risk of leaving money on the table, except if we do what is right in learning and development. Another analysis that we do every year, we partner with Fortune magazine every year to identify what are the world's most admired companies. Here is the last list that we have and some, of course, well-known names. Typically, we look at why they are the most admired, typically performance, innovation, quality of management. And this year, we also did a side survey on how do you face disruption in the digital economy. And I'm going to highlight some of the findings of this survey with regard to learning. Number one, the world's most admired companies are identifying needs that they need to have, that they don't have today, like most of the organizations. Number one is customer focus, then it's managing change, and a sense of innovation, capacity to innovate and take risk. The challenge is that only 44% of those companies believe that they have the skills and the bench of talent in order to deliver their value in the digital economy with the skills that they need. Therefore, a majority, and we see that every day with our clients, are telling us, we do not have the right leaders, we do not have the right talents. Regardless of all the investment they do in that field, They complain we are not ready to face the economy, and we have a risk of being disrupted if we do not really solve that issue pretty quickly. To compound this issue, when they do realize that they don't have the talent they need or the leadership they need, they find it difficult to find the right talent. Either because they don't really know how to define it. Every day we have someone telling us what is a digital leader, or what is an agile leader, or what is an inclusive leader, or what is a transformative leader. How do we define? What do they do? What are their competencies and capabilities and experience? And when they know who they are, they don't know how to fight them. And when they fight them, they don't know how to attract them in a compelling way, because they want to go to other organizations. This is a major challenge even for the most admired companies. Then, an interesting insight is that when we ask them, what type of leaders do you want? The number one skill that they are looking for is learning agility. Learning agility is a desire to learn and the capacity to adapt. Therefore, regardless of your skill and what you have been developing so far, are you going to be able to adapt for the future? Therefore, are you going to be able to help us solve the talent crunch that we said earlier? Therefore, the world's most admired companies are not only solving for the problems of today, they are solving, in terms of learning, for the problems of tomorrow. So, I tried to make the case on the need for learning, extraordinary need for learning. The issue is that, what we could say, based on that need for learning, money and budgets will be very high for learning and education and development of our talent. It is not the reality. So we did another survey and asked about 800 senior executives and CEOs about the main assets that they see in their organizations. The number one asset is, from the CEO perspective, technology. It's the technology for platform technology, back office technologies, infrastructure technology. Number two, second best and most important asset for those leaders is technology. Technology in products, technology in channels, and to go to market and go to customers. Only number three comes culture as a third asset for those organizations. The hard reality is that CEOs are telling us people is a cost, bottom line cost. It's not really a value generator asset for the firm as opposed to technology. In addition to that, their bosses, the board of directors, the shareholders are telling them, invest in technology, invest in technology, invest in technology. Therefore, when we go with our beautiful plans, talent is our best asset, this is the leadership development plan that we have, or talent education program that we have, they hear us politely, and then they hear to their boss telling them, invest in technology. So there is a real difficulty to really invest in leadership development and talent development in that context. There is a very objective reason why CEOs and board are saying invest in technology. There is indeed the emergence of a new type of worker, which I call the digital workers, that are pretty productive. Now, in order to run a car manufacturing plant, you have a dozen of people. In the past, you had thousands of people. And those thousands of people have been replaced by algorithms and robots. This trend that happened in manufacturing in the last 30 years is happening everywhere in all sectors of the economy. However, we do need talent to build the algorithm and to build the robots. Another challenge that we see a lot with leaders is that they wonder why to invest in talent, in particular in millennials. They observe that millennials and more Generation Z are pretty volatile. Therefore, they move from one job to another, from one company to another, and leaders are saying, typically baby boomers, are saying, why should I invest in those talents if tomorrow they will leave and go and work for my competitor? Okay? The paradox is that millennials and more Generation Z, their number one value at work is to learn. It's probably the main differentiator between those generations and the prior generations is a desire to learn. And we have a number of engagement surveys, another instrument, that say that if companies were really investing in their talent, they will stay longer. It's not a fact that they will leave if you do the right thing. If you don't do the right thing, they will leave. Okay. Another challenge that we see is that organizations are investing a lot of money in leadership development and do not see the full result of it. So in the US, there is about $150 billion, of different numbers, but I will take that one as a base, $150 billion that companies invest in development of their talent. However, business leaders, as well as CLOs, are saying, we don't see the full value, the full return of that investment. The $1,000 to $2,000 that we invest per talent, we don't see that this translates into really something different, able to help us cope with the new challenges of our business strategy. One of the reasons they are saying that is that they observe that even those millennials or other talents that say we want training and development, when they are being offered that development, they don't take it. They say, we do not have time. We spend time on our day-to-day business. We have to deliver the numbers. We have to have a deliverable to deliver for next week. I would love to do that training, but in practice, they don't go. They don't do it. They don't take the time. And they don't do the discretionary effort, many of them, not all of them, of course, but many of them, to really use the resources available to be able to learn in a different way. So what we see is maybe because all those challenges of mindset, demographics that there is related and economics related to learning and development, companies tend to focus more and more on recruitment. The rationale is to say, hire the best and they will take care of themselves. One former executive at Google, Laszlo Bock, pointed out to the New York Yankees and the Boston Red Sox as example of this policy. Those two teams, baseball, you know that more than I do, won jointly over 30% of all the World Series since the beginning of World Series. An amazing number. New York Yankees more than Red Sox. However, they are able to do that because they pay for the talent. Some of them are confirmed talents, sometimes some emerging talents, but they're ready to pay. They have the biggest payroll in baseball. Right now, Boston Red Sox had the best campaign this year, and they have by far the biggest payroll, $230 million for 40 players. So let's see what happens in a few weeks as the result. So we see that there is a need for learning. However, plenty of barriers for learning, for investment in learning, and some companies that are looking for other solutions, digital workers, or recruit the best and pay for them and don't worry too much about learning and development. Therefore, we need a stronger case. We need something more valuable, more critical to really convince our CFOs, our CEOs, the board members that spend on talent, do something really different to make the difference. In order for that to happen, we need to change, what I say, change the game and come with a new paradigm. We try to do that ourselves, looking at what happens in the industry of human capital management, and we took a strategic perspective. Strategy is looking at the value of a new investment, fundamentally. So what we did, we worked with another macroeconomic firm and look at in 8 countries what is the value of talent versus the value of physical assets. And they used, and using a financial term, they used the equivalent of a discounted cash flows of future income. So if they look at the lifelong income of the population, the working population, how much they will generate in income, which is a proxy of the value they create, and they discounted it to the present value to get to $1,215 trillion. It is more than 2 times the value of physical assets using exactly the same type of methodology. What future cash flows generated by physical assets, discounted value, $515 trillion. We are talking about big numbers here. So there is value in people. What does that mean with regard to your organization, therefore at the macro level, at the organizational level? We all know the number of employees that we have. We know the payroll. We should know the performance and productivity of our talents. Therefore, we know the current situation and we know the past. Do we know the future value that this talent that we have today in our organizations are going to produce? Have we calculated either through an income perspective, the compensation, or through actual value creation, what is the future value of talent? And this is an opportunity. So one of my fundamental hypotheses is change the game by really understanding how to maximize the return on talent in an effective way. It is not enough. Assuming that we know what is the value of talent, we need to also know how to capture it. The future value is a promise. If you don't translate it into reality, it is worthless. We saw all the challenges that I talked about earlier in why there are barriers to invest in leadership development and talent development. I believe that in order to overcome those barriers, we need a new concept, a new framework, and some organizations are already getting there. My hypothesis, my new paradigm, is to put together learning, work, and life. And I'm going to explain that in 1 second. Fundamentally, some organizations, in particular new economy, Silicon Valley type of firms, some of the most admired companies that we saw earlier, they have a value proposition for talent which is absolutely extraordinary. And this is why they are making the difference. They start with purpose. They say, be who you are. Come and work with us and be who you are. You like dogs, come with your dog at work. You like a nice environment that looks like a home, be in that such environment, and you'll be able to be yourself. You have goals and purpose and objectives in life, pursue them, realize them, and you'll benefit from it. The second is build capabilities that make sense to you. Therefore, do what you are good at, do what you like, and become a master at it. We'll give you the opportunities, of course, in the context of what we want to achieve for the purpose of the organization. Third, outcome. See results. See result of what you do. We are going to help you execute. We're going to put the resources behind you so that things happen. And you'll see the result. Assuming the results are aligned, of course, with the overall objectives of the organization, you'll get a lot of reward out of it. You'll be compensated for it. So this combination of purpose, work, and learnings by doing, together with a sense of achievement and getting the outcome that you want, is, I believe, what organizations are going to converge towards. Technology is critical, but technology is an enabler. I mean, you are here in an environment around technology. I see many CHROs or even CEOs saying we need a new LMS. We need the app to sustain the development of our people. We need better dashboard to ensure that what we do in terms of development translates into real numbers. We need to compare compensation with development. Plenty of techniques and platform that seems to be the purpose and the aim. And therefore, all the attention is there. While this is an enabler. What do we really want your people to feel? How do you want them to perform? What do you want them to learn? How do you create a context so that they are going to display and exercise their talent in the best possible way? Then, when you understand that, how can technology help and reinforce what you want to do? There are a number of organizations that are already putting together outcome, business perspective, and talent. Some of them are Wall Street type of companies, bankers, investment companies. One of them is BlackRock, with more and more of a speech of impact investment. Therefore, they do not look only at what's the financials and the strategy of the organizations. They look at, do we have, in these companies that we want to invest, the right management, the right inputs, the right talent, and the right outcome, not only in financials, but for society and for the planet. And therefore, we see billions and billions of dollars more and more geared towards the combination of talent and business. I put here the example of Salesforce, they have a process which I think is interesting in bringing together at the individual level, at the team level, at the organizational level, all those dimensions I just talked about. It's called V2MOM. V2 stands for vision and values. Therefore, when you develop a project, they always ask you, you go for your budgeting process, for instance, ask for resources. The first question they ask is, what's your vision? How is it connected to your values and the values of the company? And then move into methods, therefore, how you are going to do it. And this is where the learning comes and capabilities come. what obstacles you need to overcome, and what measurement metrics you have, therefore what is the outcome. And this cadence and this routine is the organization that goes permanently into the purpose, how you learn and how you display what you learn into what you do for a specific outcome is exactly what I believe should become becoming more and more the norm. Google has something similar called OKR. So my call to action is making learning work. It's playing a little bit with the word of making work learning. Connecting to my introduction with the Korn Ferry Institute and the Korn Ferry Academy, this is what I'm trying to do now. I'm in process, so I don't have yet the full result. But fundamentally, I'm trying to first measure with a forward-looking perspective, net present value, the value of Korn Ferry talent. Therefore, I look at what is our strategy, do a little bit of workforce planning, what talent do we have, what demographic of talent, see what is the value of those talents today. Number two, I segment talents. Not everyone is the same. Therefore, I identify talent and roles and jobs on which I want to invest. And then, for those one where we want to invest, I develop the context of learning that put together purpose, outcome, and capabilities. I'm focusing on the context, not so much on the program or the technique or the technology. How do we make sure that this is going to help people align who they are with what the organization wants and deliver value for our clients? I hope by doing this, by putting together those different dimensions linked on business strategy, deep knowledge on people motivation, as well as connecting with the work that we do and the outcome, I'll get the resources that I need. Thank you very much. And do you have any questions, comments?
Hi, I'm Nick from IPC. You said that the millennial or Gen X, Gen Z, whatever you said there, their main focus is learning. Are we making that assumption because of their inexperience and youth, or is there some sort of platform that you gained that information from?
No, it's a fact. It's not an assumption. There is a lot of studies showing that. I was recently in a conference in Santa Monica where we had people working with Google, and that actually Google has access to a lot of information based on what people search on their platforms, and they did a special analysis on the Gen Z generation, therefore after the millennials, or they call it the hero gen as well. And it was fascinating saying, they look at the different drivers of this population. There are a number of them. The number one, representing 80% of what drives them, is learning. Therefore, if you do not, and learning is everything, going to on YouTube, it's having interaction. If you don't gear what you do towards this job, this activity, this outcome is going to help you learn, you lose this population. Okay, all right, thank you. Thank you, Todd.
Jean-Marc, thank you very much.
Okay.